Hi, my name is Keith and I'm known as the Florida Stone Man, and today I'm going to teach you about subtracting from your enemies. So basically, when people have enemies, they do everything in their effort mentally, physically, emotionally to put the enemies first. Whether they realize it or not, they actually put their enemies first. They're thinking about the enemies, what is their enemies doing, and that actually subtracts from you. That takes away from working on yourself. If you're someone who is trying to uplift yourself and become a better person, achieve all of your goals, and you're thinking about enemies, that's an issue. The thing is, all you have to do is put your shields up, practice protections, practice return to senders, and just ignore your enemies. When you take power away from your enemies, they're no longer your enemies because they don't exist. So the thing is, I find that people say, oh, there's people gossiping about me. The thing is, if you're a genuinely good person and you're on the right track, keep doing what you're doing, because if you ignore them, they'll dry up. It takes energy to be an enemy. Ignore the helicopter flying over me. But basically, work on yourself. As long as you are lifting yourself up, as long as you're doing everything that you're supposed to do, then you don't have to worry about enemies. You can practice a few return to senders so that you have a deflective shield up. One thing you can do that's very easy is work with the herb agrimony. So agrimony is an herb that acts as a defensive and deflective shield. It's a very strong return to sender herb. It's very easy to work with. All you have to do is just say a prayer over agrimony, oil, or herbs, and just put it in your lotion. Put it in like some kind of oil and just rub it on your skin. And people who go to do bad with you, it will send it back to them so viciously before it even gets to you. One crystal that you can work with as well is onyx. Basically, onyx takes care of it takes care of enemies before they even get to you. But you want to pair onyx with something, because onyx should not usually be used on its own. It's usually best paired with something such as obsidian. Say if you want more of an attack, more of a offensive defense, or you can pair it with black tourmaline, which basically cuts all energy strings off from people who are trying to siphon your energy. So just work on protections, work on reversals, work on return to senders. That's it. You just work on yourself. Work on uplifting yourself and making yourself the strongest person you can become. Crystals that you can work with as well to just work on yourself and not have to worry about enemies is Mexican fire agate. Mexican fire agate is one of the most vicious return to senders crystals ever. When you wear this, you don't have to think about enemies. It's also known as the crystal of safety. When you have basically peace of mind that you are working on your goals, you're doing much better than everyone else, especially in astrological weather such as Mercury retrograde. This can scramble people's brains, and people are already scrambled before the retrograde. The whole point of this video is for you to work on yourself. Don't worry about enemies, because without energy they'll starve, they'll move on to someone else, because if their main goal is to make someone their enemy, then they have a bunch of enemies that you don't even have to worry about them. Most of the time when people are in the world trying to make enemies, they are already their worst enemy on their own. Their own enemy is the enemy, so they're already attacking themselves before they're attacking you. But you're validating any kind of attacks that they make against you by paying it attention. When you pay attention, you use your energy, you send them energy as your enemy. Forget about them. They have no energy source. All they have left is themselves and whoever else they're making their enemies. Just focus on yourself and you will be completely fine. You don't have enemies once you put them behind you. Once you bury them and completely forget them in your memory, then they're not living rent-free in your mind. That's it. That's what this whole video is about. It's about empowering you, helping you. When people come to me saying, I have enemies, what can I do when my enemies are not around? Forget about them. Put your protections up, put your return to senders up, completely forget about them. You won't have enemies. You don't have to worry. The thing is, when you give it to your angels, if you're a good person and you work with angels or your ancestors, especially angels such as Archangel Michael, when you give it to the angels, they'll take care of it. They're behind the scenes. You never get to see what they do, but they fully take care of it, and they work very hastily. But pray that your enemies will not bother you, and then expect them not to bother you, and they won't bother you. Like I said, you can practice return to senders such as agrimony. Another herb you can use is rue. You just burn a little rue throughout the house. It clears whatever energy is in the house and it sends it back. Rue is a good return sender herb as well. Another crystal that you can use to return to sender is lapis lazuli. Lapis lazuli is a very specific return to sender because it passes it off to your guides. It has to do with the throat chakra. It has to do with communication. So basically it passes it off to them. It communicates to them that, oh, okay, you can send it back. So they basically use the lapis lazuli to help send it back, especially because there's reflective pieces of pyrite in it. But this whole video is about just work on yourself. When people come up to me or when people tell me I have enemies, I first start off by saying you're making them your enemy. You're validating them, you're giving them energy, you're building them up as your enemy. Take away all energy and you don't have any enemies. So that's the point of this video. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. And until then, ciao everyone.